This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
All right, my friends, welcome to the Dr. Sem Yankees Show. We are here every single Saturday morning without fail at 7 a.m. And then, of course, this is also broadcast again on Start Spreading the News, the greatest, the most wonderful, the most terrific Yankees site in the entire world. And hey, happy Saturday. Let's make today a great day. How can you make your day great? It's easy. You look around, you see all the good that's around you, and you take the time to appreciate it. When you appreciate what's around you, you can't help but have a good day because there is a lot of good around you. But do you want to make your day even better? Take that goodness and spread it forward. Share happiness and love and kindness with other people. Remember, when you give love, it comes back to you in greater amounts than you ever gave. But I know, yes, I know, somebody is out there saying, you know, Dr. Sem, no way. Nothing is good. There is absolutely nothing good in this entire world. It's all bad. Everything I know, everything I see, it's bad. There's not one good thing. I don't have a roof above my head. I haven't eaten in days. Nobody's kind to me. Everything is bad. There's no flowers in this world. The clouds aren't beautiful. The sunshine never comes. It's all bad. There's nothing good. Well, if that's the case, if there's nothing good at all that you can find to be appreciative, make good. You see, you have it within yourself to make good. Be nice to somebody else. And then voila, there's good. And now there's good around you. Do something nice for your neighbor. Bring them flowers. Tell them you care about them. Help them shovel their front sidewalk in the wintertime. Mow their lawn. Pick up garbage along the street. Send a letter to a loved one. Call an old friend. Donate your time or some money for a needy charity. There's a million ways to do good. And then they'll be good around you. A quick also reminder that this program is brought to you by Artemisia Publishing, a fantastic publisher who has a plethora of great books that they offer, including, I'm just getting the pictures up here, my wonderful novel. If you have not read Scattering the Ashes, your life is incomplete. Then you might say there's no good around because you haven't read Scattering the Ashes. Take a look at that wonderful book. Or need motivation? 365.2. That will help you set goals that you never thought you could achieve, and you will achieve them. From Compton to the Bronx, Roy White's autobiography, and the always wonderful The Least Among Them. All those, of course, written by me. Roy White's book is written by Roy with me as the co-author. But you know what? In this world are great people and kind people and smart people and wonderful people. And one of those smart, kind, wonderful people is our very own, and Start Spreading the News, Tim Kabel, my friend from the great state of Connecticut. He's with me here today to talk Yankee baseball. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Paul. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Swell.
So we always record the program on Friday because sometimes my computer just dies. I just got a new computer, but I haven't set up StreamYard and all that in the new computer yet. I have to reach out to Pags, who helps me with all this kind of stuff. And of course, I'm airing on many of his channels. Would you believe, Tim, I was talking to Pags last week, and these programs get about 1,000 views. I mean, like people are watching and caring about the Yankees all over the Philadelphia sports networks, which is great stuff. And of course, on the Northeast Streaming Sport app and all that kind of stuff, we're out there. But the Yankees just put their lineup out for tonight. And in their last game, rookie, 22-year-old Jason Dominguez had a whole bunch of hits. He's struggled at times this year, but looked like he had a really good game. And so what did the manager, Aaron Boone, decide to do in the very next game after the kid really performed well?
I know.
So Dominguez is starting at third base. Is that what they decided to do?
No,
Left field?
of course not.
DH?
No.
They decided to make him the starting pitcher.
No.
All right, so after he had a big game, you're not going to tell me, Tim, that Jason Dominguez is on the bench.
Yes. Yes. I had predicted it, and unfortunately, I was correct.
You did predict it. You said it the minute it happened. You wrote the game summary. And again, thanks for picking up the game summary the other night on Wednesday night. That was the game summary. And you said Dominguez had a big game. I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Boone sits him the next game. So Dominguez is a switch hitter, and he's better from the left side. So the pitcher going against the Yankees tonight is a left-hander, so you didn't want Dominguez batting righty. Is that the case?
No, I believe the pitcher's a right-hander tonight.
The pitcher is a right-handed pitcher tonight. So Dominguez had a great game. He's better from the left side, and he's on the bench.
Correct.
Interesting. The number 4 hitter is someone who has had struggles against right-handed pitching for up to like the last 6 or 7 years. Giancarlo Stanton. Is that correct?
That would be correct.
So, Tim, you're a smart man, an accomplished writer, a published author who has a couple other great books coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes. Can you answer the riddle? Like, why, if you're trying to develop a young player, he has a big game. Granted, they were off yesterday because it was a scheduled day off, but wouldn't you want to get him right back in the lineup the next game?
I remember a saying I heard once, common sense isn't very common around here. And I think that applies to the manager's office in the Bronx. I definitely think that, I mean, it makes perfect sense. Every time that Dominguez seems to be getting on a roll, he's benched. And I know he's young, I know he's resilient, and he seems to have a lot of confidence and ability, but that's not how you develop a young player. They didn't do that with Volpe.
No, they sure didn't. He just went out there and played every single day till they wore him out.
I mean, even now, when he hurt himself a couple of weeks ago, he didn't even get the whole next game off. He came back. And, you know, and I'm not knocking Volpe, but I think Dominguez is better, but I also think he's not being given a fair shake to develop.
So the Yankee manager is Aaron Boone. We're not necessarily high on his managerial abilities. We've each written that countless times on Start Spreading the News. But if you were a manager and your job was to win games, not just this year, but going into the future, and you have a young kid who everybody's extremely high on, he's a top-rated prospect, he's made it to the major leagues for the third time, in essence. He made it up a couple years ago, then he got injured, so then he missed most of last year, but went back to the minor leagues and made it back. And then he made the team this year out of spring training. And he's doing well. He's not doing great, but there's a learning curve with a young kid acclimating himself to the majors, especially a young kid who's missed a lot of time the last couple of years and missed a whole season during COVID, a year of his development. What possible logical reason could there be for a manager to move a kid in and out of the lineup, give him inconsistent playing time, and put him in positions maybe not to fail, but certainly not to succeed?
Well, logical and Boone don't belong in the same sentence. There is no logical reason to do it. I mean, what you're doing is you're sending the kid a message. I mean, he had to feel great after the 4-hit game. And then he's sitting on the bench, and he's got to wonder why. He has to sit there and think, I mean, I would. What did I do wrong? And the answer is he didn't do anything wrong. He belongs in the lineup. And when you're the manager, I know he has a lot of players, and I know he has to get everybody in, but it seems that Dominguez is always getting the short end of the stick. And the other thing is, as you said a minute ago, you're not just managing for now, you're managing for now and the future. Who has a bigger future for the Yankees? Giancarlo Stanton or Jason Dominguez?
I mean, the answer is obvious on its face, right?
Yeah. I mean, who has a bigger future for the Yankees? Trent Grisham or Jason Dominguez?
Again, answer is very clear. Trent Grisham is signed just for this year.
And he's 30 or 31. And yes, he is having a very good year. But he was in a lull for a while, and this is not his norm. I mean, he's never been a great offensive player, and he's doing really well. Or he was, then he had a lull, and now he's bounced back a little bit. But still, he's not going to be your center fielder for the next, or outfielder for the next 3 or 4 years. Even Bellinger is only signed for 2 years, and he has an opt-out after this year.
And right. So the choices would be Dominguez DHs, or he plays one of the outfield positions. So there's 4 guys who he's got to be competing against at any day. Aaron Judge, well, you're not going to sit him. And then the 3 guys you named. Stanton hasn't performed in years. He is just coming back from an injury. There's a right-handed pitcher on the mound. Doesn't seem like the most opportune time to play him. I think he has like 1 RBI since coming back in 2 weeks, too. I'm not sure about that, but I think so.
Sounds about right.
Trent Grisham is on a 1-year contract. Cody Bellinger might opt out at the end of this year, or he might play another year. And then you have Jason Dominguez. Of all those 4 guys, outside of Judge, of the other 3 guys, the only guy who really looks to be a Yankee as soon as next year is probably Jason Dominguez.
Exactly.
And, of course, Stanton. But I don't understand, if you're going to make a choice, all right, rotate those other guys, but let the kid play. Maybe if he's in a slump, you sit him, but he just did 4 hits. It makes no sense.
And again, I'll never be the manager in the Yankees. But if I were, I would play him virtually every day, unless, as you said, he's in a slump or it's a really, really tough left-handed pitcher. Then maybe I would bench him. But I would play him every day, and I would also, it seems like they might be doing this, I would take the manacles off as far as letting him run, and I would let him steal bases because he's probably their best base stealer. He already has a dozen, and he's only been thrown out once, and that was when he made that terrible play in Boston and got caught off the base.
Right,
So
that wasn't even a caught stealing. I dislike that is called a caught stealing.
Exactly. But I think he's an exciting player. He's a young player. The more he succeeds, the more confidence he'll get. And if you've looked at his minor league career, this is the point of the season where he usually takes off. He does pretty well. He's okay during the first part, but once the hot weather comes, he really seems to take off. And I would just say, for now and for the future, he's your best option. But he's going to be in and out, no rhyme, no reason. And, it's not even a pattern.
Right, so it's not even something for him to figure out. Oh, every 4th day I sit, every 3rd day I sit. It's every time I succeed. That's the pattern. I sit.
I get 4 hits, I'll be out the next day. How's that going to... I mean, not that it would discourage him from getting hits, but, some people it might.
Right, and we've seen this, except for Volpe, really, and maybe Austin Wells, because they really don't have another choice at catcher. We've seen this with so many young players during the Boone era, where they just never seem to get. And look, Esteban Florial proved to not be a major league outfielder, right? But I used to make the point that he never got a chance. And we had readers who would argue, and sometimes people just argue for the sake of arguing, because you can't argue that Florial ever had an extended chance in the major leagues to prove what he could do. And on a much smaller scale, I do remember a game or two where he had a couple of hits and then he sat.
Right. And he does that with the only people who seem to be somewhat immune to it, besides Volpe and to an extent Wells, are the pitchers, because I think Matt Blake protects them. But I think, otherwise he has not, I can't really think of a young player that he has really developed. Volpe, you could say that, but I also don't think Volpe has developed as well as he could or should have.
As we're looking at the lineup tonight, Volpe, his OPS plus is 102, which means now in his third season, he's barely an average major leaguer. And I know EJ on the Start Spreading the News show says that with his defense and his speed and other factors, that makes him very valuable. And I understand that, but to the point about Volpe, at this point, wouldn't we have expected more growth as a hitter?
Yes, but look at it this way. Remember 2 years ago when he was struggling, it wasn't anything Boone said to him that caused him to do better. It was Wells, his friend, looking at tapes with him. I don't think Boone, and I'm not there, but I don't think Boone really offers anything substantive to these players. Now, people like Judge or, Goldschmidt or Bellinger, they don't necessarily need it. But the young players, they need somebody to tell them, hey, you got to work on this, or that was great, or maybe if he had an off game, it's all right. Why don't we try working on this a little bit? And the thing with Volpe, yes, he has speed. He has regressed as a base stealer.
Yeah, it's been terrible this year.
This year, he's been awful. And I think it might be that little hitch or hop or whatever you want to call it at the beginning when he takes off. Again, this is never going to happen. You're more likely to be named King of France than I would be the manager of the Yankees. But if I were the manager...
Hold on. So this is it's Paris. Hello. Parlez-vous français? Yes. Yes, I don't really speak any other French. I don't even know if I said that correctly. But I do accept. Yes. Yeah, I'll be the president of, yeah. Do I have to move to Paris? Do they have pizza in Paris? No? All right, I'm going to decline, but at least I was offered. Thanks. You might be the Yankee manager. Just offered the presidency of France.
If I were the Yankees manager, I would have Volpe down at first base with a pitcher on the mound going through the motion and have him just work on his first 10 steps over and over and over again until he got it where it was just a click and run. I used to coach high school track, and I had a couple of kids who were slow out of the blocks, and that's what we would do. And I think they need to do something like that with Volpe to get rid of whatever that little flaw is, because base stealing is part of his game, but it's not if he's not very good at it.
That's correct.
I think, and they have a few guys. Chisholm is a very good base stealer. And surprisingly, Wells is pretty good too. But I think that is something they need to do more often, and they need to work on manufacturing runs so that when they are in these periods like I call them Boone swoons, they need to be a little more creative. Aaron Boone is not creative as a manager.
Why do you think, if I ran a business and the idea was to be the best, that was our desire, and the better we are, the more money I would make, and I see all these young players who I could have on my roster who flame out because whatever reason, they just don't acclimate well to the big leagues. Austin Wells is another one in many regards. He just hasn't hit. And then, then the excuses come out. Well, he's banged up. Okay. But he's still not hitting it. This is like his third season of being around the major leagues. At some point, like these guys, it has to click, and it just doesn't seem like it's clicking. So I'm not. My manager doesn't seem, or the organization doesn't seem to be able to have any young players have an impact positively for any sustained amount of time. We never win World Series. The guy never gives a coherent statement to the media. It's always just words that are just nonsensical. What is it that makes the Yankees so happy or so content with Aaron Boone as the manager?
I don't know. I mean, I think it could be a lot of things. I think, and again, I'm not trying to be too psychological here, but I think Hal has this reluctance to be considered to be like his father in the regard of getting rid of managers. And so he's gone way to the other extreme. And, there is no real reason to keep Boone. Maybe they don't think they have anybody better, but I think they probably do. And it couldn't be worse because he has not improved. That's what I think makes him a worse manager today than when he first started. Because in his 8 years, he hasn't gotten any better.
Nothing has changed.
Right. And the only thing that's changed is, and again, when they come out of these Boone swoons, he has this almost cocky arrogance about it. And he's very dismissive to the media. And, as you said, he gives ridiculous answers, but he's also curt and he's also, snippy sometimes, as if he's, he thinks he's great and he's not very good. And that's a problem because if you think you're great and you're really not good, you're not going to get any better. There's no motivation to improve. If I ran a race, which I wouldn't do, and I finished last, I would sit there and think, well, what could I do to improve? This was my problem and I need to work on this, or this. He doesn't do that because he thinks he's right. He thinks he's good. If you ever listen to anything he says, when he's not talking gibberish, he brings everything back to himself. I remember it was last year in spring training. There was all this big hullabaloo about him hitting a home run in spring training on his 50th birthday. Who cares? I mean, that's not important. Your job is to be the manager and to win games, not to hit a home run at age 50 in batting practice.
And if you're a major leaguer or a former major leaguer, I'm sorry. You get enough swings, you're going to hit one out. At 50, at 55. Listen, I play baseball, as you know. There are guys that are my age, some even older. I mean, I mostly play against younger guys, but against a batting back practice pitcher, when you know it's just going to be coming straight and you get your timing down and you're a major leaguer, you can hit one over the fence. That's not an accomplishment.
No. And a lot of times when they talk about players like a third baseman, especially a third baseman, he'll bring up his career. And then there was that whole thing when his brother became the hitting coach
Oh, you're right. Of the Mariners.
of the
or whatever.
Rangers.
Yeah.
And they were talking about their rivalry and this and that. None of that is important. And I think one other thing that we haven't mentioned that's important, we talked about Dominguez. What about Rice? Ben Rice is getting lost in the shuffle too. He's playing at catcher tonight, but he's a better choice at DH than Stanton. I mean, Rice has, 13, 14 home runs? And again, I think he's the type of guy, when he gets hot in the warm weather and the balls are flying out a little better, he could go off on a tear. So
But not if you're sitting on the bench every other game.
Exactly. He and Dominguez are sitting there staring off into space.
Yeah.
I just think, and I think the other question I asked before, who has more of a future with the Yankees? And I named a couple of people. Let me ask you this one. Who has more of a future with the Yankees? Ben Rice and Jason Dominguez or Aaron Boone?
Yeah, well, I hope.
Sadly, it could be Boone, but it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be. But for whatever reason, the Yankees seem very content with and I've written articles about this. Yes, George Steinbrenner changed managers a lot. Yes, he did. He also changed after that second suspension, and I've mentioned this a lot too. He managed totally different, owned that team in a totally different way. He brought players in. He basically stayed out of their way. He let young kids come up. People like Steinbrenner was terrible. He almost traded Mariano Rivera. He almost traded Derek Jeter. He almost didn't re-sign Bernie Williams. Right. But he did, and he didn't trade those guys.
Right.
He almost didn't give Jorge Posada a chance. Okay. And I almost ran a red light 5 weeks ago or something, but I stopped. I didn't run. I don't understand. Like they so much want to hate on George that they give him negative credit for things he didn't even do.
Right.
That he almost might have done. Makes no sense.
And George also developed in that second go around a sense of humor about himself.
Yes, he did. It was on Seinfeld. Yeah.
And remember the Visa or whatever it was commercial with Jeter?
Oh, yes.
Where after he criticized him for his nightlife, and then they had those two in a conga line or whatever it was.
Yes. He learned. And isn't that what was to go back to what you're saying about Boone, and unfortunately, Tim, we're running up against the bottom of the hour here. But Boone hasn't ever matured. Steinbrenner came back and acted differently, and he didn't fire managers all the time. But it wasn't just him who didn't allow a manager of the Yankees to go this many years without winning a World Series. Every single Yankees owner, dating back to the Babe Ruth era, there has been no Yankee manager that's gone this long without ever winning a World Series and kept his job, except Aaron Boone.
No. And last year when they made the World Series, I think he's responsible for 2 of the losses.
Yes, I agree. And part of it was the lack of fundamentals that they just never seemed to figure out. The play at first base in the last game when Cole didn't cover. And as I noted that other game, when Anthony Rizzo didn't back up second base. Supposed to trail the runner in the first. There's nothing else to do at first base.
Right.
And there's just never seems to be any consequences. Tim, this has been so much fun. There is so much more we could talk about. Maybe we will have to do this again very soon. But my dear friends, we're at the bottom of the hour. 30 minutes goes far too quickly. This has been the Dr. Sem Yankees Show with the great, the brilliant, and the wonderful Tim Kabel. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everybody. We'll see you again Monday night at 9 for the Start Spreading the News Yankee podcast. Have a great night.